This channel, a systematic teaching, enables you to awaken and end suffering and reincarnation. Please find the playlist in the description. Mahayana Pure Land welcomes you. Understanding Reincarnation to End Reincarnation. The Scientific Study on Reincarnation and More. Part 2. The Galileo of the 20th Century, Professor Ian Stevenson. Spending 40 years using scientific methodology to investigate 3,000 cases, Professor Stevenson was one of the pioneers in the research of reincarnation. He was the founder and director of the Division of Perceptual Studies at the University of Virginia School of Medicine and helped to found the Society for Scientific Exploration. He also published 300 papers and 14 books on reincarnation, including 20 cases suggestive of reincarnation, which is considered his masterpiece. Since modern people admire science and require scientific proof, Western scientists have applied many ways to test the truth of reincarnation and have made great progress in recent decades. Professor Stevenson used a scientific perspective and attitude to conduct his studies on reincarnation. He said that he was not a religious person, and he did not want to be known as religious or have any connection to religion. He felt it would affect the credibility of his scientific research if he associated himself with religion. Scientific experiments have to meet 2 points. First is discerning truth by using facts revealed in actual experiments. All of the experiments and cases must lead to the same truth. Second, the results of the scientific experiments must be repeatable. Experiment A gets certain results, Experiment B conducted in another country gets the same results, and Experiment C conducted a year later gets the same results as well. In other words, regardless of time or location, the truth will be repeatedly confirmed if various experiments have been conducted. With this scientific spirit, Professor Stevenson researched more than 3,000 cases over 40 years. He was scrupulous about every detail. The facts of reincarnation that he confirmed have earned high praise from the scientific community and academia. In the Journal of Nervous and Mental Disease, an article stated, "Either Dr. Stevenson is making a colossal mistake, or he will be known as the Galileo of the 20th century." The main subjects of Professor Stevenson's study were children between 2 and 7 years of age. These children, who came from all over the world, including the United States, Canada, South America, Europe, West Asia, and Southeast Asia, could all remember details from their previous lives. The children in those case studies, though very young, were able to accurately state events from the past few decades, or even from past centuries. They were able to describe these things in great detail. Let me introduce to you one of the very intriguing cases from Professor Stevenson. A 4-year-old invited her dad to her past life's house. In India, there was a little girl named Swarnlata who could remember the circumstances of her past life. She was born on March 2nd, 1948, and lived with her family in an Indian city called Panna. When Swarnlata was 4 years old, she could describe some experiences of her own former life. She said that in her past life, she lived in another city in India called Katni. Her family name was Patak, and she had a husband and children. The families of her past life and this life were total strangers to each other and geographically far apart. One day, her father took her past the city where she had lived in her past life. Suddenly, she said to her father, Daddy, my house is near here. Let's go visit and have some tea." Her father said, "You silly child, our house is still far away from here." But after that, Her father often heard his young daughter talk about her encounters from her past life. Later, when this case became known to Dr. Stevenson and some of his colleagues in India, they began to carry out investigations. With Swarnlata's guidance, the researchers found the family of her past life. In the process, this little girl Swarnlata's past life was revealed. She had been named Biya, and she died in 1939, leaving her husband and 2 sons behind. Meeting the family of her past life. When these professors took this little girl to the family of her past life, she was able to name each family member with perfect precision. At that time, the professors, in order to observe her accuracy, deliberately tried to mislead her by introducing one of her former children as someone else instead. Nevertheless, when this little girl saw the son of her past life, she hugged him and said,
"This is my son. His name is Murli."
Rather than being affected by the professor's attempt to mislead her, this little girl, despite now being younger than the son of her former life, still could not help but naturally show a mother's love and care for him. Even more interestingly, this little girl revealed one of the secrets of the husband of her past life. How? She said,
"One day my husband went into my cash box, took my personal money, 1,200 rupees, and had never returned the money to me."
No one but the husband knew this had happened. At first, he had denied taking the money, but after Swarnlata's visit, he finally admitted that it had indeed happened. This was regarded as an evident proof of the existence of reincarnation. Look, if we owe somebody money, even if it is from a past life, the creditor will remember this fact in his heart. So we should never have unpaid debts, for they cannot be escaped. 9 years of singing and dancing in Bangladesh. You might have noticed that this little girl said that in her past life, she was a mother named Biya who died in 1939. But in this life, the little girl was born in 1948. Where did she go for the 9 years in between? Swarnlata told researchers that she reincarnated and lived in a village in what is now Bangladesh. In that life, the girl had passed away at the age of 9, so the timing matches up perfectly. But how did they prove the life of Swarnlatas in Bangladesh? It turns out that Swarnlata, from a young age, loved to sing and dance to a folk song from Bangladesh. Her family in the present life did not understand Bengali, so her parents never knew what she was singing about. They thought she was lost in her own imagination. One of the professors investigating Swarnlata understood Bengali. He quickly wrote down the lyrics when Swarnlata was singing. The lyrics, which Professor Stevenson included in his paper, praised nature and described the joy of farmers at their harvest. It was very beautiful. The professors, following this little girl's directions, located the village of her past life in Bangladesh. After some verification, they discovered that the villagers all loved to sing and dance to this same song. It was very popular locally. Swarnlata was a normal young Indian girl who grew up to earn a bachelor's degree in engineering from an Indian university at age 19 and a master's degree in engineering at age 21. 2 years later, she began to teach at a highly accredited institution in India. She kept in contact with Dr. Stevenson even after she became an adult, so she is a person with a typical mind. Swarnlata is a living example of reincarnation. Her memories give us strong proof that reincarnation does exist. We had introduced the original Galileo in part 1. He is the father of modern science, a man who dedicated himself to science. Think about it. Why would a magazine honor Professor Stevenson as the Galileo of the 20th century? It is really a question worth pondering for us. Even though Galileo's scientific discoveries are common knowledge today, in his time, They were considered a huge assault on religious ideas. Likewise, the facts of reincarnation that Professor Stevenson discovered and confirmed also stand in stark contrast to the accepted norms of the general sense of people today. We believe that more research in the future will certainly confirm Dr. Stevenson's discoveries. In the next part, I will introduce to you how the Western scientific community investigates the existence of the soul, and how modern physics reasons that time and space are the illusion of mankind. Thanks for watching. See you soon on part 3.